Welcome back for week 16, part 2, sit or start. We have all of our late Sunday and then our Monday night games to talk about and figure out who we should be focusing on. You haven't checked it out. We have 2 DFS episodes out this week. One's a mini one and then one's a full Sunday slate one. Our mini one's for our Saturday games, and we would love to have you check it out and join us. We have 2 contests up and running. You can find all those links in the description. Let's jump into this first game where the Rams are facing the Jets. Rams are favored by 3.5, and the over-under is 46.
I am oddly extremely excited about this game. I know. Who would have thought? The Rams and the Jets. I've been out Christmas shopping and buying too many things and things I just shouldn't buy. I don't even know how I found this in Charlotte, but if we have any Rams fans out there that are looking for a set of little people, let me know. Drop me an email at judy@fangirlfootball.com that you're looking for these little people, and I'll get the Rams to you because I buy too many things. I also have Carolina, but I'm keeping Carolina. And if I end up keeping the Rams, that's fine too. They'll go on my shelf and I can play with little people. So they're super cute. Yeah,
I didn't
I
even
don't know
know they made
why.
those.
I had seen them on an NFL auction. So some of the more popular sets are being auctioned off by the NFL, which is kind of funny. And that made me look for it. And I have no idea why I could find the Rams and Carolina Panthers in North Carolina. Anyhow, let's
I
jump
might have to
into
head
this
to the
game.
store then, see if I can find any.
See if you can find them or put it on your Christmas wish list. Anyhow, so last week I thought Cooper Kupp was an extremely safe play, and he delivered a big 0, and Puka had a giant game. It was mostly, though, because of the coverage by the 49ers that caused that 0, not lack of wanting to get the ball to Cooper Kupp, just that the 49ers had excellent coverage on him. I like going right back at Cup this game. You know, things gravitate towards average. His average is not 0. I feel like Cooper Kupp is again a safe start against the Jets defense. The Rams have won 3 straight and hold the top spot in their division after the Seahawks lost last week. And this could be a really fun game. We already knew that Davante Adams was Aaron Rodgers' favorite, but last week Aaron Rodgers proved his love to Davante Adams, and Adams had 9 catches on 12 targets and just under 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm hoping that this trend continues because it is fun to kind of oddly watch, even though I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I still love watching this all play out just because it's like a nightmare. A little bit that somebody actually believed in Aaron Rodgers and just gave him the keys to the whole team, and he's doing his thing. And we're watching some really great talent with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall not get used. Anyhow, it's another great matchup for him in the Rams, and we'll see if Aaron Rodgers is going to continue getting it to Davante Adams. So Adam leads all players with targets with 31% share, and since week 9, he's got 40% of the target share. Those are just crazy numbers. And Garrett Wilson is not on Rodgers' Christmas list after he threw his little fit on the sideline last week and told Rodgers, if it's one-on-one, throw the fade. So Garrett Wilson is a very, very cautious start, as is Breece Hall. Breece Hall it's an interesting situation because Braylon Allen has been limited in practice and is on the injury report. We've been seeing a lot of share, and there's not enough running to really create room for a share there. But if Braylon Allen is out and it is all on Breece Hall's really talented, and maybe he can have a good day. So I do like starting Breece Hall if Braylon Allen is out. Garrett Wilson, I don't know. You going to take a chance on Garrett Wilson?
I luckily don't have to make that decision really, but I probably wouldn't. I think there's other options. I'd see what I'd have on my bench and try to go for a less risky play there, just because that dynamic and Aaron Rodgers is making the decision, not the coaches, not the situation. It seems like just, do I want to throw it to this person or not? Which I don't like.
Yeah,
leaving it to Aaron Rodgers.
looking back, we were drafting Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall late first round, early second round, both of them. And it's just been a disaster this year. We had no idea that Aaron Rodgers was just going to get to take control and bring in and do whatever he wanted. And he
Well,
clearly didn't believe in these two.
well, and Brees Hall wanted to break the 1,000-yard rushing season this year, and I don't think he's anywhere close.
Yeah, no, he's not. And it's sad because it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers trying to live out his last few days doing exactly what Aaron Rodgers wants to do and not necessarily using the talent or the team to the best possible outcome.
Yep.
Anyhow, you're
Well,
starting all your Rams players: Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, obviously, because Devontae Adams is the favorite. But on the Ram side, they're all a good start. I even kind of like
Stafford?
Matthew Stafford this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stafford could be a good play because if the Jets can keep up and we get our shootout, we're always wanting that shootout and get that shootout, then this could be fun.
Well, let's continue on to Philadelphia at Washington, where Philadelphia is favored by 3. Over under is 45. What do you think?
This is my nightmare game. I have this situation this week because I have both Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and I've already benched McLaurin because I didn't want the risk of playing them both. The Eagles' defense is good, and the Eagles' defense is where games just go to stall and not do a whole lot. The Eagles are the only team to average fewer than 28 pass attempts per game. But last week against the Steelers, Jalen Hurts did throw 38 times after we had the whole A.J. Brown rant and meltdown. He was throwing more and got the ball to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. The problem here is the Commanders are a run funnel defense. So they are setting it up and they want you to run against them because they know that they're not good at defending the pass. Does that lead to Saquon Barkley having a crazy game? It should, but I've also seen the Eagles, when they played the Panthers, decide not to run the ball, even though the Panthers wanted them to run the ball as well. And it was an easy run matchup. They were still trying to pass the ball. Unfortunately, I think the Eagles are going to be able to do whatever they want against the Commanders. The Commanders, I can't get out of my head the game last week where they almost lost in the last seconds. The only reason they didn't lose to New Orleans was because they stopped the 2-point conversion attempt and that New Orleans went for the 2 points and not to tie the game. So I'm really concerned that there's a whole meltdown going on for the Commanders, and that has me wanting to sit my Commanders players. The Eagles are giving up the second fewest passing yards per game and the third fewest fantasy points per game to quarterbacks.
I do sometimes wonder if teams go in thinking a game is going to be easier than it ends up being. So, like with Washington going into the game against New Orleans, or we've seen it with other teams that have had less wins, and then it's a really dominating team and they don't perform as we expect. It's kind of like, oh, we weren't really trying because this was supposed to be easy. And even if they
Right.
say that's not what they're doing, I I get that feeling that they just aren't mentally in that we're going to go and do our best
Well, we'll
attitude.
see. We'll see what the Commanders have, and hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I'm super concerned about this game and therefore recommending, bench Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., Jaden Daniels, all my Commander players. If you have the option, you can bench them. On the other side, you're starting all of your Eagle players. It's a tough game because the Eagles are fighting for that bye spot in the NFC with the Vikings and Lions, but the Commanders are fighting for a wild card spot. So both of these teams should be playing their best football.
Well, let's continue on to Minnesota at Seattle, where Minnesota's favored by 3. Over under is 42.5. And I think you mentioned recently that this game it's supposed to rain.
It is supposed to rain, like a steady rain all game in this matchup. We are assuming that Geno Smith, who has been battling a knee injury, will play. Zach Charbonnet did not practice on Thursday, and it looks like Kenneth Walker might be the lone running back. So if he's the only running back, it's not a good matchup. But now if he gets the backfield to himself, you have to give him a chance. And he's off the injury report, as well as Metcalf is off the injury report, which surprised me.
That's good.
It is, except for Metcalf's target share keeps dropping each week. He was down to 3 targets last week, and JSN saw 36% of the target share. It's kind of getting a little crazy there. Seattle has ramped up their safety coverage, but the Vikings are bringing in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who are on a tear lately. Obviously, you're starting Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. How about running backs? Seattle's allowing the 3rd most yards per carry over the last 10 weeks as well. So you can also run against them. If it's raining, I want to run the ball. I think I read a little bit too much into that because the teams do seem pretty happy passing and they've all played in the rain. And to me, it's just like, oh, I don't want to do things in the rain. Why would they want to do things in the rain? So I do feel the wind gusts aren't supposed to be bad. So I feel like there's still good plays on the passing side of the ball. But Minnesota could easily be up pretty well in this game as well. So Aaron Jones is a great start. On the Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably my only must start. Maybe Kenneth. Well, we already talked about Kenneth Walker.
I'd start Kenneth Walker. And
I'd start him. It's not a good matchup, but I'm not starting Geno Smith.
I can understand that. I think that there are other quarterbacks in this weekend because we have no one on bye. So really what I am thinking about here is how does this person rank against everyone else who's playing this weekend that I could potentially have? And hopefully you have someone who I would put Geno probably lower mid for this weekend with these matchups.
Yeah, it's not good. And he's not healthy. He can't run.
But especially with Metcalf and JSN and Lockett all being in this weekend. So if I feel more confident in Kenneth Walker being able to potentially do stuff. They're not just focusing on one person because they've lost a bunch of wide receivers and a running back. Right. They have a little more tools and distractions. As a quick side note, did you know that the Seahawks actually have a live hawk mascot that has been their mascot for 20 years?
I have seen him. How long do those birds live?
I don't know, but I have to look it up. I'll link the video that I saw of him flying in the description because it's just really cool to see this hawk fly through the stadium, be able to be okay around that much noise.
I'm pretty sure that the Falcons have one too, that they have a falcon that they fly around their stadium.
I'll have to look up a video and link it for that too because I love seeing the Falcons and the Hawks flying. They're so pretty.
They are pretty. I don't know about the Ravens. I think a Raven might not behave so well.
They're so smart. But okay, let's continue on to Jacksonville at Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think they're going to have a live Jaguar mascot in the stadium anytime soon. Las Vegas is favored by 1. Over-under is 39.5. I guess they have AOC back at least?
Yeah, at least they're getting AOC back, who left in that air cast, but now he's fine. Yeah, that works. Which is good because it's been bad. Ritter has been just disastrously bad for Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. So now we get AOC back. Hopefully we can get the production back out of Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. But Jacoby Myers is injured. He's been on the injury report. So you definitely need to keep an eye on him and see if he's going to play for sure before starting him. So he's a maybe start. I do like Bowers and Jacoby Myers, though, in the matchup. The Jaguars' defense is not going to stop them. They'd just be stopping themselves. So with AOC back, they're a pretty good play. The Raiders did put Sincere McCormick on IR, so his life running the ball as the sole running back is over very quickly. It just started. So now we're back to Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah. Find somebody
Fine.
else,
Yeah.
pick up Patrick Taylor for the 49ers, take a risk there. Don't start Madison or Abdullah. It's probably a good matchup, but I don't know how they're going to be used. Just a bad situation there. If we look at the Jaguars side of the ball, Brian Thomas Jr. is so talented and he seems to do well with whoever is at quarterback. He had a big game last week. You've got to start him. He's a must start because he's so talented and this is a good matchup for him. And then last weekend with Evan Ingram being put to IR for his shoulder surgery, we saw Brenton Strange come in at tight end, and he was the short range target in week 15. He had 12 targets and caught 11 of them. He didn't get in the end zone, though, but that's a great day for a tight end. If I can get a tight end that can catch the ball and is getting targets, I want to start him. I feel like Brenton Strange is a
A better
must
pick
start.
than
And
Kyle Pitts.
yeah, definitely. I don't think Strange is going to get you a goose egg. On the Jaguars running game, it's like, let's just bench all of the running backs in this game. So the Jaguars can't pick either between Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby, and I just don't want that share. So I'm looking to stay away from the running backs in this game. The running backs have been very ineffective later in the year for both of these teams. Maybe it'll be more competitive and they'll run more, but you can't depend on which one it's going to be.
Well, let's continue on to New England at Buffalo, where Buffalo is favored by 14. Over under is 46. So is Buffalo just going to you have to start everyone from Buffalo because they're going to go and score 35 points?
Buffalo's going to put up their 30. I don't know how they're going to do it. They now have all of their wide receivers back. Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir, they're all in there. They shouldn't have to pass a whole lot. This should be a James Cook day, even maybe a little bit of a Ray Davis day to take some workload off of James Cook. We can't rule out that Josh Allen runs in for a touchdown or two. So you're starting Josh Allen. Congratulations if you have him. This may not be the game where he racks up another 40 points, but it's going to be a good day for him and he's going to be very dependable and he could just decide to run up the score. They love to run up the score on New England. They've got many years of being beaten and by Tom Brady in their minds that they want to be the dominant one now. The
And this
problem
is at
is they
home.
play them. Yeah, it's at home and maybe they'll just do it, but they play them again in 2 weeks, but it's not like New England and that one's in New England. But New England doesn't have any fight in them, so maybe they will just run up the score. Maybe it will be a 50-point game. I had the pleasure of going to a playoff game a couple years ago where the Patriots played in Buffalo and they put up 50 points on the Patriots in that playoff. It was a wild card game. It was a lot of fun to watch and the fans really, really enjoyed it. So, must starts Josh Allen, James Cook. On the Patriots side, they're going to be passing. They're going to be behind. Their running game is going to take a backseat. Ramondre Stevenson is a sit on that side. In their passing game, Hunter Henry's been the only one that's super dependable. I would start Hunter Henry at tight end. We've even seen Demario Douglas not getting a lot of targets by Drake May. I don't know which wide receiver they're going to use. I don't have any on my list that I need to be starting in this matchup.
Yeah, not on the New England side.
No. You have anyone that you super like in this game or did we cover
I like
them?
Shakir. We kind of covered it. I know that there's all three of them back and they're splitting it, but we had some good solid weeks of production from Shakir, and I feel like yes, Amari Cooper and Coleman are back, but I think that Shakir's still
He's a
a good
dependable
target.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like him in the role that he plays. I can see them using this a little bit as practice and going for that deep ball to Keon Coleman since he just came back last game and he only had 2 or 3 targets last week. I can see them using it to see what they can do and how open that they can get Keon Coleman. So he may only have a few catches, but they may be really big ones if he gets them.
He had one of those last week, right?
I think so. I don't know.
Let's move on to San Francisco at Miami, where Miami is favored by 1. Over under is 45.
This game feels like
Yeah.
a war where both sides are just beat up and they're putting out whoever's still breathing.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries to go around here, and I don't think it's the teams that we thought they would be at the start of the season.
Definitely not. No, we did not foresee any of this. I was very high on the Dolphins, not so high on the 49ers, but I didn't think that we would see so many injuries and that we wouldn't see McCaffrey except for 2 or 3 games. No one thought that.
So, injury
So
wise, we have Waddle most likely out with a knee injury. And I mean, then they have a lot of IR people on the San Francisco side.
they do. So Jalen Waddle is most likely out with that knee injury, which should mean more targets for Janu Smith, maybe even Devon Achan and Tyreek Hill. Janu Smith does not have a great matchup in against the 49ers. The 49ers are holding tight ends to 35 yards per game, which is the league low. But I feel like just the sheer volume that Janu Smith is going to get will still make him productive enough that he is a must start in this game, as is Devon Achan. Other than that, are you going to start Tyreek Hill? You're probably going to give him a shot, especially with Waddle out. But we all know that Tyreek Hill is also hurting as well. And then there's Tua. Tua is also on the injury report with a hip injury, and he looked awful last week against Houston. He threw 3 interceptions. Purdy
Yeah,
did as well. Purdy's also coming off of a really bad game where he was 14 of 31 and 142 yards and no touchdowns. So, who's going to not suck at quarterback this week?
I don't think you pick either of these. Hopefully, you have someone better if you have one of these two. But I think it's also a week where I I think I'd like the next game we're going to talk about even more, which does have a backup quarterback in.
Yeah, we got a couple more. George Kittle is a must start. He's always a must start right now because Brock Purdy's going to check down to him. Juwan Jennings may have a difficult matchup for this game because he's most likely going to be covered by top cornerback Jalen Ramsey.
What
Let's move
about
on to the
Debo?
next game. Oh,
I
Debo
know.
just isn't playing well. No, sit Debo. He's not playing well. I don't think this is the game where he starts playing any better.
Well, let's continue on then to Tampa Bay at Dallas, where Tampa Bay is favored by 3.5 and the over under is 48. This is your Sunday night game. I'm
This
excited
is
for
a
this to
fun
be.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. A fun one. Go
And
Bucks.
yeah, the Bucks have won 4 straight and just have to keep winning to stay ahead of the Falcons,
They
which
do.
lets them win their division, I think.
It would. Yes. So go Bucks. Mike Evans continues to lead the team. He needs just 251 yards over the next 3 weeks to break 1,000 yards. I have to think he's going to be doing that. That makes me, I'm seeing a lot of these statistics. And last year, I remember somebody published all the bonuses that people could hit in the last game. And usually the teams are really trying to help those players get to those bonuses because it means a lot for them, especially if you've got a player that's at league minimum, they're going to try to help them get to that bonus. So it's always fun to see that happen. We'll have to look for that in the next few weeks. The Cowboys put Trevon Diggs on IR last week, which should help Evans. So Evans is a must start, as is Baker Mayfield. I'm not benching Baker
Yeah.
in this game. This is too good of a matchup to bench him. Bucky Irving's playing through injuries, but he's still piling up the points. And Dallas is allowing the most yards before contact per carry to running backs. So this is really, really setting up for a great game for Bucky Irving and even Rashad White. We see those running backs not just used in the running game, but they're also being passed to. The Bucks have gotten creative with how they use the talent on their team. We have seen a rise though in Jalen McMillan, their wide receiver is really starting to see a lot more target share. He's up to 22% of the target share. So he is really stepping into that second wide receiver role. And so I like him as a what the heck start in Jalen McMillan. Let's talk about Dallas for a minute. The Cowboys have finally committed to a running back, and that's Rico Dowdle. I'm fine starting him against this weak defense. And CD Lamb has just been rolling over everybody. The Bucks are allowing the fifth most yards per game at wide receiver, so CD Lamb should have a really good game. Lamb saw 45% of the target share last week. That's getting to be like Devontae Adam numbers.
Yeah. I mean,
So
even without Dak Prescott, you kind of gotta give it to CD Lamb for still getting the targets and the catches.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so CD Lamb's a must start. The only players that I'm cautiously benching, Jake Ferguson hasn't done a whole lot since coming back from injury at tight end for the Cowboys. And on the other side, we've seen Kate Otten, who was also struggling and playing through some injuries, not doing so well as we've seen Jalen McMillan on the rise. So Kate Otten is a very cautious start if you don't have another tight end.
Cooper Rush, what do you think?
I've been thinking a lot about Cooper Rush as I decide if I'm going to play Jaden Daniels, and he's on my waiver wire, and I'm considering it. I know Jaden Daniels is the better play, and I'm probably going to lean on Jaden Daniels, but I don't mind the Cooper Rush play. They're going to be passing the ball, and he could have a big week. He's just not as talented as some of the other quarterbacks here, but he's in a great matchup, and he does get the opportunity.
Cooper Rush over Tua?
Yeah, I like that.
I would even probably say Cooper. I don't know if anyone's trying to start AOC. I hope not. But Cooper Rush over AOC.
I think so too. Let's go to our last game.
Yes. New Orleans at Green Bay. This is our Monday night game where Green Bay is favored by 14. We have two games this weekend that are favored by 14. Over
Yeah.
under is
Packers
42.
Packers get a playoff spot with a win. And this one is in Green Bay. It'll be cold. I got a warm weather New Orleans dome team going to a cold weather environment with backups everywhere. That's why Green Bay is such a big favorite. I'm actually surprised it's only 14. And I picked up the Green Bay Packers defense to play this week, so they may help me win. Josh Jacobs is running back 5 over the last 10 games and could keep just rolling. He should keep just rolling this week. Only the Panthers have allowed more yards per carry than the Saints. Jordan Love is a little bit cautious because he shouldn't need to pass much in this matchup. So he is definitely a lower end quarterback in this matchup this week. And then we've always talked about the Green Bay wide receivers that we have no idea if Jordan Love passes, who he might choose to target that game. He should get to choose whoever he wants. It's just going to be really spread out, I feel like. Speaking of spread out wide receivers, I'm going to take a little pause. Did you see that game last night against the Chargers and the Broncos? Each team passed to 10 different players. They had catches by 10 different players on each side. So 20 people caught passes in that game. That's kind of how Green Bay is, right?
Yeah, that's definitely how Green Bay is. It makes it kind of hard when you're trying to pick who to start or sit or play in DFS.
It definitely is. I had started Lad McConkey and Cortland Sutton, which they were okay. Anyhow, Kamara is probably out this week for New Orleans. And Kendre Miller will get the start. Jamal Williams is there too, but Miller should get most of the work in this cold matchup in Green Bay. And rookie Spencer Rattler will get the start in Green Bay. The only must start on my list is Josh Jacobs running the ball for the Packers. Maybe you're going to start Jordan Love and maybe Kendre Miller because at least he's mostly going to get all of those touches and get to show what he's got trying to keep a job. Obviously, you're not starting Alvin Kamara if he's not there. And then all the wide receivers, I'm not going to risk it.
I wonder if we're going to get another fun video post this game about how much cold weather gear New Orleans takes with them. When Miami headed up afterwards, we got a fun video with the amount of gear that Miami took, which included scuba suits even. I
Yeah.
know it's cold, but
I think they just like went in a locker room and dug around and thought, what do we have that might work wherever it's cold? That was so weird.
I'm definitely with you on not starting too many of the players in this game, prioritizing other games with much better matchups, and focusing on those high over under games where there's a lot of potential and upside for those players.
Yep. If you can, that's where you want to be.
That wraps us up for our part 2, week 16 sitter start. We have those 2 DFS contests running this weekend and episodes. You can find all the links we've mentioned in the description, and we'd love to have you join us. Good luck this weekend.
Happy holidays.
See you
We
next
get
week.
Christmas football next week.
Yes.
Woo.